Hey folks, this is Matthew Zachary, and before we get to the show, I wanted to tell you about another show from Offscript Media called The Cancer Mavericks. It's an 8-part deep dive narrative into the very story of cancer survivorship and the movement that started in the United States 50 years ago. This is not a podcast about the disease of cancer. It's a podcast about the people who made it better for all of us. Please search for The Cancer Mavericks wherever you listen to your podcasts and follow so you don't miss an episode. Thank you.
Welcome to the FUMS Now podcast show, where you'll gain information, inspiration, and motivation for living your best life with multiple sclerosis. Find us online at FUMSnow.com. I'm your host, Kathy Reagan Young. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. So glad you're here with me again today. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts to be sure you don't miss a single episode. And I'd sure appreciate it if you'd leave me a rating and review at Apple Podcasts. I read every single one, and I really appreciate you taking the time to do that. And it helps get the word out about FUMS too. The more people that are exposed, the more people are helped. And that's really the goal. So I really appreciate you doing that. So today's guest is Dr. Cindybet Pérez, a board-certified clinical and neurological music therapist practicing in the island of Puerto Rico. I got to roll my tongue. I don't get a chance to do that very often. She's also a faculty member at the Pontifical Catholic University and presides over the Puerto Rico Music Therapy Institute. Thank you for indulging me. And welcome, Dr. Pérez. Thanks so much for being here today. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And hello to everyone that is listening to us or watching us. I am very excited to be here and just share with you my passion and love for music and music therapy.
Oh, I just love this. I have so many questions for you because I love music, and I find it can, affect my mood. I mean, good and bad, by the way, and like my psyche in such a major way. I think it really does help lessen my pain. I sort of, provide my own music therapy, I guess. I'd love for you to share your educational background and why you chose musical therapy as your career choice.
Okay. Well, as you mentioned, I practice in the island. It's actually islands because there are more than, it's right. Puerto Rico, the big island, a few small ones. I am Puerto Rican. I was born and raised here in the island of Puerto Rico. I went to college here and I studied music education, and I was, my major was voice, so I was singing opera, and I used to play cello at a college level as well. But it was my major instrument was singing, and I had to make a decision about what am I going to study afterwards. I knew I wanted to go to grad school, and I thought, well, I could go and study, voice performance. But it was something really strong in me, through prayer, that it was like, well, you have a gift and you have to use that gift to help people, period. And, music therapy was not a well-known career path. There's no programs here, but I've heard about it from someone, and I just looked for some information, said, so I could help children, and back then it was more like autism. It was, it was the thing about music therapy, and it's like, so I could use it, and I could even teach children music, but in an adapted way, and use my gifts and talents. I think I'm going to sign up, and I applied to different schools, ended up at Illinois State University, and it was a great program. I had a wonderful mentor over there, Dr. Marie Di Giamarino. I love her. I still love her. I still call her my mentor. And, this was a big step, okay, because coming from a small island in the Caribbean, and even though we are territory of the United States, there's still cultural differences.
Yeah, huge.
And I just went there and I did the program. my internship, 6 months of internship was at a general hospital in Charleston. And that's how everything began.
Yeah, I love that.
So, and after that, I just kept working in different areas of music therapy, and just, I love learning and I love serving. And eventually I did a doctoral program that is from Spain.
Oh, okay.
So I'm lucky enough that I speak Spanish.
Wow.
and I just, I just kept learning about music therapy. Yes.
Yeah.
That's the story of how I ended up with music therapy.
I love that story. I know I've seen the video of music therapists working with, in particular, Alzheimer's patients, where they're not communicating, and then they play music from their childhood or their young adulthood or something, and they light up and they actually remember the words, or at least they move to the music. It is amazing. I mean, it looks miraculous.
It is.
So what a wonderful thing to be involved in.
Yes. And the more, the more I graduated from music therapy in 2008. So it's already been over 10 years. And the more I practice, the more I see what music therapy does and how it can change someone's life, not only the client's life, but their family too, when they see what they can actually do. I just fall more in love with the field and with what music can do. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful way to serve. So some people ask me, I was working in the States. I worked there until I moved back to the island in April 2017. So I was over there for
a long time.
A long time, since 2005. And when I moved to the island, I was, answering so many questions about music therapy and about what is music therapy. Yeah. And some people say, nobody knows what that is, so you're not going to be successful. But praise God, it was not the case. It has been wonderful. I have my own business, where I serve music therapy, and I find other people that can, I give jobs, and it's just amazing the amount of people that just while they witness the work, they say, well, I want that for my elder home care place, or for my group, different specialized group for different needs, because it speaks on itself.
Yeah, that's so great. I love how you keep saying that you serve. I love that. What a heart. What a wonderful way to approach anything, really. But I think in particular, something like this, it's beautiful. Do you specialize in MS in particular, or just neurology in general? How does that work?
I am in a very small place.
Yeah.
And there's not many music therapists here in Puerto Rico. I work all kinds of patients and all kinds of clients. Yeah. So it's basically more on like, where's the need? And I go, that's why I think it is important, especially for people like me that are in places that maybe there's not much resource, like human resource for music therapy, so that we can keep learning and keep, expanding our knowledge. Because, and this is one of the things that I learned from my mentor, Dr. D, was you get ready for whomever you encounter. So it's not about you, it's about what they need. And that's part of my philosophy, is like, I get all the knowledge that I can, I get all the experiences that I can, so that whomever is in front of me, they can get what they need. So here, I do neurologic music therapy with different populations, from autism, stroke, traumatic brain injury, and of course MS. I just work with a wide variety of people throughout my week. And it keeps it fun.
Right? Yeah, it keeps it interesting. Sure. Yes, that's great. And just learn so much from each different patient category, I would imagine.
Yes.
Can help inform you. You indicated to me that music can really help someone newly diagnosed. How so?
Well, some of the people that I have worked with that have been newly diagnosed, they have some symptoms. They don't know what it is. And there are symptoms that could be confused with symptoms of a stroke or what they call a transient ischemic attack, which is like, it's not a full-on stroke. It's like the symptoms pre-stroke. So they end up being seen as patients of stroke, which I have worked a lot with stroke patients. And as they start, doing testing, the neurologists realize that what they have is not a stroke, is MS. So it just happened, and many times I'm there, and it's like, well, Cindy, can you see this patient? We believe she has MS, or he. And so I get to go there and talk to them about what is happening, because this is for us that we know what it is, it's familiar, but when you never heard of MS,
right?
It's
so scary.
And yes, and the doctors, I don't feel that sometimes they give you the full disclosure of the condition. So they just say, well, this is and I cannot remember the technical word. I believe is demyelinating condition.
Yeah, which means nothing to somebody newly diagnosed. You're like, what the hell does that mean?
Exactly. That's exactly, that's exactly my point. So I see this in the chart, but I know what it means.
Right.
So I get to go there and just first, because they see me with my instruments, they know that I pose no harm,
no threat.
There's no threat, no risk of anything. So I of course, it's like, how are you doing? What did they tell you? And then we start to explore some of the things that may happen and that the person may need. Of course, I'm never going to, overrule the doctor and just tell them, but enough that they can know that you will need support, and we can start right here. That's sometimes great. They Google. Google.
Oh, but Dr. Google is the worst.
Yes. Yeah. And they become more confused. So what we do, what I do is something, we start sometimes with what I call insight.
Help you stretch.
Pardon me. I think that even though I turn off the phone, it's like the Siri is very sensitive. So I apologize for that. No problem. As people, get in this set of circumstances, I go there and I do what I would call insight music therapy. So I just allow them to tell me what they know, where they're at, how they feel. And it's not going to be the same for everybody, because everyone has different priorities and different understandings.
Right. So
we start working with like, okay, what is it that you're feeling right now? And if it then is anxiety, then we might work with some like visualization, music and imagery, we call it. Music and imagery to relax, progressive muscle relaxation as well. And depending on the person, maybe the person needs a more emotional / spiritual support, then we go there and we do more, spiritual directed music therapy with the person. So
super individualized then.
Yes, it's very individualized. This is very individualized. I believe that there is some pillars to the therapeutic relationship, and I believe that there needs to be connection. There needs to be evaluation, and there has to be some honoring of the person's experience. So I want to tell you about one particular story.
Yeah, please.
So there was this young woman. I would say young because it was about my age. So it was in her late 30s, or mid 30s. She was at work when she felt like her tongue very heavy, and part of her body was tingling, like half of her body was tingling, and she tried to get up, and she just obviously she had no. It was like hemiparesis, which she lost control of that side, and she fell. So when she's taken to the hospital, it looks like a stroke. So, but eventually the testing revealed that, she was actually experiencing MS. She had a baby, a newborn baby, and she was breastfeeding her baby. So all of a sudden, one of the things that happened is that, we need to do extra tests, and you have to have is some sort of iodine, and I apologize, I don't know the name in English, okay. But it's basically, it's a toxic thing. So you have to ingest it. It's a contrast for the MRI.
Yes, got it.
So you have to ingest that to create that contrast when they do the MRI, see what parts of, your body lit up. Right. And then what happened is that then she could not pump. She could not send milk to her baby.
Oh.
So even though she was in the hospital, she had the possibility of sending her, her breast milk. So she had to pump, to throw it in the
pump
bathroom, a pump and dump. And that was very traumatizing.
I bet.
So you see that at that moment, her strong feelings were towards that is like, this is my baby's milk and I have to throw it away. Yeah. And then she didn't have her baby clothes and all of these things. So we had to work with that because she was missing her baby. She was missing her support system first. Okay. So we had to work on that, on then, what can we see of the situation? The situation is short term. What benefits she could get from this contrast MRI.
Yeah.
And I saw her a couple of times. So we were able to evolve in the therapeutic relationship and also evolve in what we were targeting, in the goals that we were working. And then, she was having a lot of anxiety. So that's when we come and then let's do some music and imagery, progressive muscle relaxation, and then visualize. Eventually, as the days pass, then we can start visualizing, how she would go and get her appointments with the neurologist who specializes in MS, that then she will, be able to have a more clear plan on medication, on therapy, on whatnot, and a focus on maintaining her skills. But as you can see, that's an example of how we need to work. Like, okay, what is right now the emergent need?
Number one issue.
Yes.
The doors to the Patients Getting Paid membership community are now wide open. This is a community of people with chronic illness learning to find and create flexible, remote work that accommodates their health. I call us chronicpreneurs. There are trainings, coaching calls, networking opportunities, co-workings, and a ton of resources. Want to take better care of yourself and still generate an income? Join us at patientsgettingpaid.com. So this is so much more psychologically based than I would have ever imagined. I mean, I thought it was wonderful when I thought it was just lining up music that spoke to that person and that helped them lift their mood. But that sounds like the very least of what you do. It sounds like you really get to know the people and find out what it is that they need and speak to them and help them visualize. And it sounds very psychologically involved.
Well, there is a different, music therapy. There's different kinds of approaches and different kinds of models and techniques. So I'm talking to you, for example, about these newly diagnosed people and my interaction with them when we have, the music therapist right there with them. Yeah. But in music therapy, we also can work other areas as, I give you the example of this young woman. because I believe 30 and something is young.
I do too. I think it's really, really young. I personally think 50 is young, but go ahead.
Yes, I
keeps getting younger.
I believe 60 is young still. So, but I give you this example because at this place where she was already receiving physical therapy. She was already receiving these other things, and the needs that were not met were the emotional, psychological. So did we get to sing? Yes, we will get to sing. Did we get to use instruments and sing? Yes. But it was based on the assessment of what is it that she needs. Now, there are patients that we see that are already receiving maybe psychological support, or their need at the moment is like, I really need to get myself moving. So then we will work more towards some aspects of neurologic music therapy that have to do with movements and moving to the music and prompting movement to the music, the music as cue, and expand the motion range. So we can do those things too.
So you really, in that case, then you're using it physically. So maybe rhythm, I would imagine, helps people in their movement. Is that correct?
The pulse of the music. We can start, baseline where you're at, and then just change the music with a stronger pulse, a faster tempo, a different rhythm to start to expand that range of motion that you already have. So we start where you are, and then we expand.
What a great tool. What a great tool. And we were talking about this before I hit record about empowerment and feeling like the patient has, something else in their arsenal, I think is what we were saying, rather than just maybe medication. Here's another modality that you can try that can be helpful. And in my mind at that time, before you just said all that, I was thinking purely for mood, and being uplifting in listening to music and that sort of thing. But what you're saying is it's not just that, it's also physical and movement and improving movement through music and rhythm and tempo and all that. That's fascinating. I mean, I came to this thinking this was great. Now I really, really think it's great.
And improving memory, right? We know that some of the MS patients might feel a little fuzzy at times.
Oh, yes.
So we can work memory. We can work mnemonics through music too. So if there's some facts that we start to forget, then we can do mnemonics through music. The part of the mood and I would call it the consulting, right? Because we also do this consultation of where we give tools for the person to use on their own. And here is, that part of being able to put in a way to give orientation or to teach, how can I change my mood state through music? What can we do? And just teaching that too, because sometimes it's like, well, I like all these songs, but not all those songs will be productive for my mood. There's some songs that I know I love them. I cannot listen to those songs.
They'll make me cry.
They will make me cry. So, but let's say that I feel really sad. So I feel really sad. Then should I just hear, a very upbeat song and very happy song? Probably not. It is not going to feel right because we are two feelings are too far apart. Disassociated. I can't say that word today. Disassociated. Thank you. Yes. So what we want is, and this is science, what we're talking here, right? Is we call the ISO principle, or the principle of sound identity, which it has many, many applications. But one of them is, well, you're going to look for something that is closer to how you feel, perhaps a little bit, higher than how you feel. So let's say that I am feeling really sad. because of whatever situation. So perhaps I would listen to something like, I don't know if you heard this song, Justin Bieber's "Life Is Worth Living." Mm-hmm. And it's a song. I really hear this song once in a while when I feel really, down for some situation. And it's a very moderate, it's kind of I would say soft tempo. And it just talks about, sometimes you are in a road and you don't know where to go, but life is worth living. So it starts, I'm feeling down for X or Y reason, but that's a little bit up. So it's giving me a message. Life is worth living.
Yeah. So maybe it's not so much about the tempo of it as the message of it.
And then we have another thing, which is the message.
Yeah.
So if you have the message, I would always say the lyrics have a great weight on our listening experience. And there's different reasons why. Because, in the psyche part of it, right? What we know, our knowledge, our thought patterns, our culture, all of that has it weighs on our psychological health and our emotions. So we need to really listen, not just hear a song, but really listen, because perhaps, and this has happened even to me, where I listen to a song and I'm like, oh my God, and I like that song. Yeah. And the song is really cool and it's really upbeat. I was listening the other day to a song, "Beautiful Girl."
Oh yes.
La, 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 la. And then I never really listened to this song, but because I realized it says, "You got me suicidal." That's what it says. You got me suicidal. And I was like, I am never going to listen to this again. And it was such a nice, rhythm. And
it was a bop.
Yeah,
it was a bop, but the message is getting in there, whether you're cognizant of it or not, right?
It is getting in there.
So interesting.
So we want to evaluate both things. We want to evaluate it's the rhythm and how we feel, but the message is going to be important. So we want to just keep going up. So I was giving this example of okay, I'm going to listen to this song about, life is worth living. And then maybe I want to listen to something a little bit more upbeat with a message that goes along that line.
Right.
For example, I love indie music. So probably many of my songs, nobody knows this song, but there's a song that is called "Life Is Better With You."
Okay.
And I sing it to myself.
Sounds lovely.
So it is lovely. And it says, some days are better than other days, but these days life is better with you. And, and of course it's a love song, but I sing it to myself.
Yeah.
I sing it to myself.
Yeah.
So it's like, Cindy, life is better with you. And I just keep going up on my songs and feeling better. Perhaps, and I'm very big on a soul path and spiritual path. I think it's very important. So in my case, I do listen to some songs that will help me being lifted up. I have a song that this couple of last weeks I've been listening to, and it says, I'm going to lift you up. And love is forever, talking about divine love. And I just hear, about his promises are faithful, whatever. And I start getting, more confident about me.
You can feel yourself.
Yes.
Lifted. That's great.
And this is what I try to teach, some of the clients with MS is so let's create this playlist.
Yeah. So you give prescriptions for playlists, basically.
It's something like that. Yes. Yeah. It's let's look at the songs. What song can we use? And then what song can we do later on and next? Build. And sometimes I tell them, find, how you pick a song in some of the apps and then it gives you suggestions.
Yes.
Or like a radio kind of thing. And so I said, okay, you can do exploratory listening.
Right.
And just start picking the songs that is like, yeah, I like this one. Yeah, I like this one. And then have your, playlist and listen, like truly listen to these lyrics, because they will weigh on our psychological state, even if we realize it or not.
That's brilliant. I remember my mom used to say to me, garbage in, garbage out. So, like,
yes.
Pay attention to what you surround yourself with, and surround yourself with positive people, and surround yourself in, positivity and happiness, and include your music in that as well. Not to say you can't ever listen to a sad song sometime and get that, gallon of ice cream out. Sometimes you need to do that. You need to hit the pit of hell and cry it out and then come back.
Imagine the eyes of the world are on you as you're about to throw out the first pitch in the World Series. You can make this dream happen thanks to Major League Baseball. Stand Up to Cancer is auctioning off the experience to throw out a ceremonial first pitch at one of this year's World Series games, with 100% of the proceeds supporting Stand Up to Cancer. Powered by Heritage Auctions, who waive their fees for their services. Bidding is now open. Go to standuptocancer.org/auction to get your bid in now.
This is so weird too, because, what I was going to say is I'm not great at listening to lyrics. I kind of pick out a few here and there, but it's really the music that I'm listening to. And this is only in the last few years that I paid attention to this. But I love your point about pay attention to the lyrics, because you are ingesting it through your two ears, whether you realize it or not. And you could be ingesting something that is like putting you not in the best frame of mind. I was a singer in a band for years, and I struggled with the lyrics. Remember the lyrics oftentimes. But when I started paying attention to what the lyrics actually said, I wasn't trying to memorize. I kind of put it to what it meant in my life. I had no problem remembering them then, which is really interesting. So you just brought up such an interesting point. I'm going to pay more attention to what I'm listening to.
Yes.
I love that.
And that's a great exercise too. What you just mentioned about, it's like creating a music video in your head of the song. And it will tell you like, okay, well, yes, it feels good, which is actually what we unconsciously do when we listen to some songs, is that we have an imagery coming up of us, of ourselves and the situation. So if we do this, this is the way that we can use music. I say, I tell my students, it's like, well, who's going to be whose servant? Are you going to serve music, or is music going to serve you? So we want music to serve us and not us to music.
Right.
We want to be to use it to our advantage.
I love that.
As you mentioned, like we can hear something that it might not be an upbeat or nice feeling song. I can't make you love me if you don't.
Oh, you just gave me chills, right? I know. When I really need to cry, that's one of my go-tos for sure.
Exactly. But the important thing, okay? So, yes, Bonnie Raitt, I love that song. And I have sung that song too in different personal grieving processes. The important thing is not staying there.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, we honor our feelings. We honor, where we are at, but we move.
So feel the feels, but move on. So as you're talking and when you sang that song, I'm paying more attention to my imagery, and my imagery was like in the basement with that song.
Yes.
Sad, and then when you're talking about, but then come out of that, I'm thinking of going up the steps and like, uplifting. And I get that. Yes. I get that on a real visceral level. Plus I love Bonnie Raitt, and your voice is magic.
Well, thank you.
What a beautiful gift you have. I was going to ask you if there's a playlist of music that's particularly good for people with MS, but since we've been talking, it's really very individually based, isn't it?
It is. And, truth is that there are some playlists that I believe you could find. I'm trying to think if I remember the name, like in Spotify, there might be some playlists like with MS for MS.
Yeah.
And we can look that up and later share it. But definitely it's going to, I always tell people, it's like, this is about you and your music.
Yes.
About you and your taste, because we all have different backgrounds. Even if we are like, I'm telling you, this is a small island, right? This is like 111 miles times 39, something like that. However, you will not believe how different each person's experience is.
Mm-hmm.
So depending where they're from, depending, their just how they were brought up.
Sure. Family background, religious, all of that. Yeah.
Heritage. Yeah. So we have people in different places, like from our traditional music, there is different kinds, like many different kinds. I cannot even keep up with it. So if the person says that they are from a specific part in the coast, they have a musical tradition so different to the one that comes from this particular mountain in this particular side. So it is important to say, what kind of music do you like and do you listen to? And people is willing to explore, but time and time again, what research has said is the musical preferences are so important in a therapeutic process, the music therapy process. So we want to always experience, look for that. We can, look at these lists that are already made. I believe I made one. It probably is in Spotify for MS and is music in Spanish. So perhaps, of course, these are selected. So I have listened to the lyrics. I have placed it in there, I know what they say.
Right.
Yes, it's curated. That's the right word. And however, and you might feel one day you want to just, listen to these songs and there's some salsa and whatnot. But some days you might want to listen to, your country music, and that's all right.
Yeah. I just have to point out for those, this is video also, and at some point I promise I will get it up into YouTube. But for those just listening, when you said salsa, first of all, you started moving your body.
Yes.
So that really speaks to what music does, right? Just, that's what salsa means to you, is this movement.
Yes.
Anyway.
Exactly.
I love that. And that just reminded me that my daughter made me a playlist in Spotify last year at this time when I was going through a really tough time. And she named it Kathy's Happy Jams. And it is, and I had her make it public because I share this with other people all the time. Kathy's Happy Jams. It is 9 hours of happy, uplifting music. Wow. Now, I have not gone through it to know all of the lyrics. And I will tell you that she snuck several in there that I listen now and again and go, what in the hell? And she was 17 making it. So that's a little different from my taste, perhaps, but I am open. So I'm just prefacing this with, I don't know what all's in there, but I know that the intention was happy and uplifting. So if anybody needs a playlist, there's one for you. I would imagine that you suggest people create their own playlist and listen to different kinds based on, well, I don't know, on symptoms. I mean, do you base things on that?
Well, I would say that we talk more about how they want to feel.
Yeah.
And that's the goal.
Yeah.
And so if we start there, then if we are working with something specific like range of motion or whatever, we will then talk about some music that we could use.
Do you often work then with a PT? So that, I mean, for the physicality of it, for people who are trying to maybe work on foot drop or walking or, using their arms. I mean, are you working with a physical therapist in conjunction at the same time? Is it separate? How does that work?
Well, this will depend on the facilities. So there's people that work in facilities with, these other professionals. In my case, I would say that only one time the PT and me, we coincided. Is that the word? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, because I was already there, he came and he's like, well, and we had a good professional relation. It's like, so why don't we do this together? So what are you going to do?
Right.
Well, I have to stand the person up and have them do, a couple laps. Okay. So, and I'm like, so what music should we use? And the person, we already were talking about this. They love like some songs from Top Gun and the Eye of the Tiger.
Oh, yeah.
So I started looking it up. Thank you, internet, and data. So that I'm, just looking at these songs up as he was, and it was really fun. It was a very memorable experience for this person because this person, have after many months still writes on Facebook about like, I remember, how much you helped me. And this person, we started also with just like music and singing and processing. And until, we were there and we were not doing so much processing, but we were, supporting that movement. And we put that, dun, 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 dun,
Right.
dun, dun, and he was getting in that walker and he was doing his lap. So, he's like, yeah. So we will, of course, verbally praise his effort and all these other songs that came because he used to run to this song.
Yeah. So he's associating that with. And
as I was looking at the songs and I was saving them in a playlist. And later on, I sent that to him so that he had his playlist already done.
I love that. That just reminded me that so I was diagnosed when I was 43. And at 45, I decided I was going to participate in this. It was a challenge walk with the National MS Society. And it was a 30-mile walk to raise $10,000. And I was very excited about it. And I trained but it was just walking. I just want everybody to hear that. It was walking, which it's a lot, but it's just walking. And then the weekend before the big walk here in Virginia Beach, we had the rock and roll marathon. But I went to the half marathon, which is 13 miles. I'm like, that's pretty close to half of what I'm going to be doing the following weekend. So I'll consider this as a great training walk and lots of fun. Right. So I'm just going to walk this 13.1 miles, except they had fans every mile. And I got so excited with the music. I couldn't help myself. And I ran the damn thing. I didn't train for that. I'm not a runner, but that's such a great example of what music can do for you. Because I just got so like hype. People are holding up signs and the music is playing. And I was like, yes, I can do this. I don't know what made me think I could do this. And I'm shocked that I didn't hurt myself somehow, but that music is what made me go, go, go. It just uplifted me to a point probably beyond what I should have been uplifted, but it made me so happy and feel like I could just conquer the world. It was great.
It does. It can give you like a burst of energy.
Yes.
A burst of energy. Also, if you need to like become more aware, like you're driving a long distance and you need to, get up.
Yeah. Wake up.
You change the music, wake up and open your eyes big.
Right.
So it will help you do that. Starting your mornings, to start your mornings, which I know, even it happens to me, but some of the patients have issues with, getting up.
Yeah.
And getting,
and the fatigue.
Because of the fatigue. So it's like, how can we, do that transition from opening our eyes to really, physically get up and do the things that we need to do. So I said, well, let's start the alarm instead an alarm that's to be a tune. Mm-hmm. And the tune will start slow and it will change to another, song that is not as slow. Yeah. But it's like a soft, soft morning wake up. And just, to do that transition in a better way and become uplifted. And usually they say that it works for them. The same thing happening going to bed.
Right.
But sometimes
dial it down.
Because the fatigue sometimes is so much that you cannot sleep because you're so exhausted.
Yes. Yeah. So, and too much going on in your head.
Yeah. So we create plans, not only the music, but music is part of a plan of winding down.
Yeah, I love that. I'm getting so much more than I even anticipated. This is so great.
I'm so glad.
Me too. So you participated in a national level project specially designed to promote health and wellness through evidence-based interventions for MS patients, specifically called MS in Harmony.
Yes.
That's in conjunction with actor Ben Platt and his sister-in-law who has MS. So how did you get involved in that? And what can you tell us about that program?
Well, it was such a blessing to participate in MS in Harmony. The first contact, someone contacted me from the American Music Therapy Association to see if I was interested. And I'm like, yeah, I love it. I didn't know, to be honest, I didn't know that it was going to be such a big, project.
Yeah.
I just thought that, we would, do a couple of demo sessions, very homemade. It turned out to be like way bigger than I even, my mind could handle. It was wonderful. A team of people interested. They were so interested in what music and music therapy interventions could do. And the people that were invited to participate, each one of these music therapists are what I call la crème de la crème. The cream of the cream. They are amazing. I know many of them. Amazing specialists, amazing musicians, amazing souls, amazing people, and that they love so much to just share music and music therapy. So being part of it was beautiful. I was in the first part, in the first phase, to put it that way. I was the only Spanish speaking person. Then the second one, I have another colleague who is also from Puerto Rico, but he's in Texas, participate. So it was a very mixed group of people with so many different experiences. And I said, yes, I will do this. And it just turned out to be a wonderful, wonderful experience, not only for me, but also for the people that have seen these videos and have participated and say, hey, this has been great.
So what is it exactly? What is the program? What does it do?
So basically, you go to this website and you will have, you can select like from the different let's put it categories, what you want to watch or learn. So let's say that you want to work the part of the body. So you will click there and you will see different videos, some by me or by other MTs that are going to present to you an intervention. It's something that you can do at home. So what we say is music therapy informed? It's not music therapy, because music therapy, you need to have a music therapist with you.
Be there in person.
Be there in person. But these are music therapy led, and they are based on, it's evidence based.
Right.
So, so we design, what we do is that everything that you're seeing, we have designed ourselves to teach people different techniques and strategies, from things related to relaxation to taking care of our mind, right, of our memory, and taking care of our voice. We have some exercises for voice, maintaining the voice quality. And we also have some things to support your soul, to put it in a way.
Nice.
So you can go there and you can look through all this. And this is so professionally made too, that, it's good quality of voice, of sound. And I believe that is something that people can do at home. Some of these are family friendly. So I remember some of the ones that I made. I was like, you can do this with your family. Bring the kids.
Right.
Bring the kids. Bring your husband, bring your wife. So that it's not only you, but if you're at home with the kids, And that was pre-pan. We were in the middle of the pandemic already, but so we were all at home.
Right.
So it's like the kids are there. That's all right. Let's do that together.
Right. Well, and the truth is, MS affects everybody in the family anyway. So everybody needs a little support, right?
It does.
I love that. And by the way, to all the listeners, we will have this in the show notes. We'll have links to MS and Harmony in the show notes. I have looked for a music therapist several times and have had a tough time finding one in my area. Are they in short supply? And is there a resource you can share where people can look for a therapist in their area?
Yeah, well, it depends the area. For example, in Puerto Rico, they are in short supply.
Yeah, right.
But there are places that have plenty.
Okay.
I would say the best way is to go to the you can go to the website www.cbm as in mom and t.org, and that is the Certification Board of Music Therapy.
Okay.
And it has an area where you can go and click and look up by area, by your zip code or state, and it will give you a list of 4 certified music therapists in your area.
And that will be in the show notes too. Thank you for that resource. That's helpful. If people want to learn more about you or the programs you're involved in, where's the best place to find you?
The best place, there's 2 ways that you can find me. One is going to Facebook. I have a page. It's in Spanish, but I will give you the name that people can look at. It's called Musicoterapia Puerto Rico.
Love that.
So
I could listen to you talk all day. Just, you don't even have to say anything that makes sense. Your accent and your voice are beautiful.
Well, thank you.
We'll put a link to that in the show notes too.
Some, depending the clients that I have, some of them, we do relaxation or we are singing and they fall asleep, and I feel honored because it's like, you fall asleep because you feel safe,
relaxed, and safe. Yes.
Relaxed. So in that page, Facebook page, you can send me a message through the page or through the email that is in the page. You can also send a WhatsApp message to the number 939-881-5564.
Excellent. All that will be in the show notes. That's great. Thank you.
And Puerto Rico is part of the U.S., so it's just like calling another state.
Just a one. Excellent. And I wanted to share with you, this just came up for me as we were talking, that I actually wrote a song about MS and recorded it. And I'm going to send it to you.
Okay.
I think it's very uplifting, and I will put this link to it in the show notes too. It's called Wash Your Mouth Out with Hope. Instead of soap, I don't know if they did that in Puerto Rico, but when I was a kid, if you cussed or were bad, you got soap in your mouth. And let me tell you, I tasted some soap in my younger years.
Okay.
So when I wrote this song, it's Wash Your Mouth Out with Hope. And and it really is about finding hope amongst, even post-diagnosis. So I will send you that as well. But bottom line, thank you, Dr. Pérez, so much. I really appreciate you spending this time with us today and to teach us about music therapy for MS. I just really appreciate your time today, but more importantly, what you're doing for our community and the greater community. Thank you so much for what you do every day, and thanks for being here with me today.
It is my pleasure.
Quick shout out to Steve Woodward at podcastingeditor.com for the fantastic work on this podcast, including editing, show notes, and ingenious ideas. If you'd like help with your podcast, whether you're just starting out or an old pro, visit podcastingeditor.com and tell Steve I sent you. Thanks, everybody. I really appreciate you listening to the FUMS podcast show. Be sure to subscribe to it so you won't miss an episode. You can do that right on the website at FUMSnow.com. While you're there, sign up for the free email list so you'll be among the first to know of any new findings in MS research, new therapies and products, as well as any blog posts and podcast episodes I release. Want to chat with others in the FUMS community? Join us on Facebook at FUMS Now. Thanks again, and don't forget to talk to the stupid disease as it deserves. Tell it FUMS every day.